Hello, hello, and welcome to Unfiltered Eat Better, Think Better series. This is where we get real about our emotions, mindset, connection to food, and healing, and what it really takes to break free and feel good in your body and life again. I'm your host, Janie Shah, and in this series, I sit down with everyday people who face challenges with their health, body, their mind, their confidence, or long held beliefs that have held them back and found powerful ways to rise and grow through it all. These are real stories, no filters, no fluff, just raw conversations about what they struggled with, what actually helped, and how they created transformation from the inside out. Whether you're on your own journey or just curious on what's possible, you are in the right place. So here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go. Today, we have Sanya with us as a guest. And Sanya and I connected through this community that we're both a part of called The Conspiracy. And it was really interesting because I did a post reaching out saying, hey, I would love to be able to connect and share stories of what people have gone through. And she came to me and shared a little bit about how her inner work has really, and her inner healing has really transformed not just her personal life, but also her business. And sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that no one else can see. And in this conversation, we're going to explore not only how she began to see herself differently, but also she mentioned something about relational practices that helped her notice the patterns in how she reacts, seeks approvals, and shows up in relationships. So, Sanya, thank you so much for being here. And let's just start with you sharing for anybody who's watching or listening to this if they don't know who you are and what you've been through and who you are today, please can you let them know? Tell them why they should listen to this entire conversation.
Thank you for a wonderful introduction. I first really want to share how much joy I had when you spoke about not just my journey, but many of us who stepped on this journey without knowing we are going on a journey until we got somewhere and like, oh, I was on the journey. So I have lots of joy for the work you do and to be here and speak about how I stumbled across lots of bits and pieces of different practices and people and quite a lot of things that got me where I am now, which is much more solid place than where I was like a decade ago. So I just felt like sharing how I feel as we open, because that's very important for me to share my inner world before I
Yeah.
dive into any like talk about me. Um,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, maybe you can start us off in the beginning, like way back when. What was your inner world like at that time before you went on this journey?
so I stepped into this business 17 years ago with my business partner, and I was struggling where I didn't know I was struggling. Like I'm software engineer. I used to be very logical, and I would be talking to business owners, and often there would be some requests that were uncomfortable or difficult, and I didn't know how to meet people with their needs, and I felt lots of inner things were going on, fear of failure, defensiveness, pushing back, and so on. And my health started to like I felt like I'm getting unwell, but I didn't know what's the cause. So I kept going to doctors. I kept checking my blood test. I check my thyroid. I've done many tests to find out what's wrong with my body. And then there was this wonderful doctor, a little older internal doctor, and he said, Sanya, you're speaking very fast. You know that your heart is beating over 100, and we are just in a small conversation. And as I say that, I realize I talk so fast now because there is so much to share. And then he said, it's not to do with your body. I think you need a therapist. And that's what happened about 8 years ago. And it got me on the path of, oh, what is he talking about? And being a good student and a good daughter and a good girl, and being someone who has many synchronicities within a week. My hairdresser said, oh, I have a therapist. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start. So just to share a transition, how I stepped on this journey without really knowing where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting as well as I'm having more of these conversations where we realize we're looking at one thing, which is why you were going to the doctors and stuff, but actually it was something else that you needed support with and to deal with. So you then went ahead And what did the next step look like for you, and how has it helped?
There were many steps over 8 years, as I'm very committed and intensive with all the work, and I'm just feeling like what is the thing that's good to share. But what was interesting, very soon as I started therapy, I started to see that my relationship with client was the same as relationship with my mom. And as that happened within 3 weeks, that got me realize, oh, there is something else there. Like the situation was exactly the same as I had with my mom as I was growing up. And actually I realized I'm caught in dynamic to prove myself, to, ask for to be paid, not feeling like client is respecting. And I think I just want to mention that because that was the key that helped me see like, oh, there is something deeper here, which I was not aware before.
Yeah, that is so super interesting because it all ties back, and this is what I do in my work as well, is that it all ties back to our beliefs, our childhood experiences that give us the beliefs and thoughts that we have in our head that then reflect outwards in our real world adult life. And just like how you're sharing that you would see these interactions with your clients, and then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but through this creating awareness, you realize, wow, this is like the same relationship with my mom and how I have
Yes,
to
I
treat
think
myself.
to
Yeah.
get to that, like the first conversation with therapist was about my family. And I'm like, why are you wasting time? This is nothing to do. So this is someone who really didn't know about
Yeah.
exactly. And then, as you say, as I was deeper and deeper in this journey, I started to see many more dynamics that I was playing. Like I could see reason for everything that would trigger me and got me to behave in a way that was not appropriate, but it didn't feel right how what
Mm.
I'm doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
very grateful for stepping on this journey. And I just want to name before we continue, when I was working with other businesses and I was just an employee, I never had any problem. It's only when I stepped into um, owning a business, managing a business, when put me out there to talk to other clients that I started to experience this dynamic of being authorities. So maybe I would not be here if I didn't join my partner and started to lead a business. Yeah.
And start to lead a business. Yeah, because they're showing you a different side of you. And this is what I love about life is that it puts you in positions where it helps you or maybe gives you a nudge to be like, this is what you need to really look at. This is how you're going to be even better than you were yesterday by putting yourself there. You mentioned something interesting when you started therapy and they started asking you about family, and you're like, what are you talking about? Let's just get to the point. How is this even related? And I think that's something that I'd love to expand on a little bit because I've often heard a lot of times is that people don't really want to go for therapy. There's this stigma around going for therapy, and they're a bit afraid around it. What did it feel like for you when you started this and you had to start talking about really personal things? What did it feel like when you started, and how were you able to kind of overcome that to recognize, oh, actually, this is helpful?
I might be unique in a way that I always dive into things without any, like at least improvement related things. Like I was running this pattern for years where I didn't feel good enough. So any opportunity to make myself better, not the language I use anymore, I would dive in. So if someone told me, like go and do this and you'll be a better person, I would just go without thinking twice. So for me, it was a natural. Someone gave me a lead and I stepped into conversation and then things open. So there was no resistance in that way. It was amazement as I started to discover more and more. Um, and I have so much more to share, and I'm almost worried if we stay in this place, there is so much other magic and gold we'll miss. But I'm like, lead us where you want us to go.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell me about what is this magic that you want to share with us?
Yeah. Um, Maybe related to what you shared earlier. Now, when I look back, I realize I've been on this journey. Something was leading me on this journey. Like there
Mhm.
was many things that came to me, important big things in my life, and I was following. So I'm now in a place where I like, oh, this was all meant to happen for me to be here. And thanks to my openness, and I'm extrovert, I am connector, I'm even a merger, meaning I'm all the time out there looking what's needed in the world, how can I support other people? I was receiving lots of information. So as I started with therapy, that was just a step. After that, I discovered so many other practices. I, my this inner drive was so big that once when I stepped on this journey, I used to have 5 coaches, consultant therapists in parallel. And every day I would be talking to another person. And then my problem that I had in business would evolve through the week. And I think that's very unusual, but it just speaks about how much drive and need was there to understand, to move, to be better, to find the peace and release. Um, yeah, I almost can start laughing when I think about thousands of hours. You know about like you need 10,000 hours to become an expert in a musical instrument. I think I've done 15,000 hours in self-exploration and world around me. Yeah. So
Wow. Where do you feel your drive came from? This inner drive that you speak about to actually get you to a place where you had 5 people supporting you.
it's very hard to know what was part of me and what was built through my upbringing. And I still don't know where is a boundary, how is that connected. But as I was growing up, although I was excellent student, I was not good enough. Like I always was criticized, if I may say, and always felt like, even the hardest study in Serbia, when I get 9 out of 10, my mom says, are you going to cancel it and redo it? I feel I'm carried away with the speed, and this moment needs honoring, I think, a bit, because that was my upbringing. There is always like you need to be better, you need to do more, and this desperate need to be seen. And I was never seen by my mom. She's not alive anymore. So I think when you ask me, I think part is that. And the other part might be the capacity I have for excellence, if I may say, because give me something and I'll get into it and I crack it. And so I think it's combination of my way of being and what was coming my way.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful as well as just being able to honor that experience, your childhood, your upbringing, and what was going on, and also honoring our parents because I know this journey as well as we start to go and we start to want to get better and we grow and we reflect on our upbringing. Our parents do the best that they know how, right? This is no discredit to them. This is not saying that they were horrible parents. It's just they were doing the best they knew how. But we as children, we take things very literally. And so when we're not given the right words or if we're praised for something and not praised for something else, we start forming meanings and attachments. And this not enough, I am not enough is such a common thread with everyone. Like I found in every single client, one way or the other, there's this aspect of not good enough showing up somewhere. And that's where we really need to fulfill. I tell everybody if there's 3 words you could always say to yourself, it is I am enough. If there's 3 words you can put on a picture and put in your mirror, put everywhere that you can see, it's I am enough. Because that can then start reflecting in your life in a more positive way. And for you, how do you feel that that not enough feeling and belief was showing up in your personal life, in your business life, and even in your business?
Well, what's interesting, I was not aware of that pattern until 2, 3 years ago. Like
Okay.
there was a certain behavior that I would now recognize that in other people. But I was not aware I'm like playing like I need to be better, I need to learn more. But I was always someone external, meaning I would have these big parties of 50 people and not have any time to, speak to anyone. Oh, Sanya is making all these big parties. I would read so many books. I would having so many friends. I would have so many plans. Like it's funny when I look back, there were all these things where I was collecting more and more in my life, like lots of trips, never satisfied. Like I go somewhere and like same day, oh, we should go there. There was this deep sense of something lacking. And especially in business, I was pleasing my team. I was pleasing clients. I would not say sacrifice because that's not how it felt, but I would do everything I can to make everyone happy. And I was lost myself in that journey until when I started perimenopause 7 years ago, I didn't have enough energy anymore. I would be so exhausted, I would lie down on the floor. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. Am I ill? It took me time to realize what's happening with hormones. So I would like to say now that actually, thanks to perimenopause, I stopped doing some things because I didn't have energy anymore. And that
Mm.
helped me choose what is it I need to do. Like in this process of 8 years, I started to see and understand things and myself differently. It was really a dance of me and environment. But even a perimenopause, no matter how horrible it was with lack of sleep and lots of problems, helped me focus on, I didn't know at the time who I am to be, who I can be, who I came to this world to become, which I feel I'm touching now. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Beautiful. And how are you different now? So the Sanya you were before, showing up, throwing these big parties, trying to fill up that lack. How are you different now?
For a long time, I was listening when people speak what's wrong about me. I couldn't receive a compliment. And I think we talk about this relational practice that I stumbled across, if I may say, 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, where I started to connect with people who were on the similar journeys about self-exploring. And just to say one very important thing, as I work with the therapists or consultants or coaches, I was reinforcing this model of I'm not good enough. I need you to tell me how I should behave. And only when I started relational practice, suddenly I was with peers, with people similar to me. There was no authority anymore. And that helped me see the patterns I'm playing. But that's a long story. I know you asked me something else, but what happened through, as like I've done before that, nonviolent communication, internal family system, mediation programs. Like I've did so many things, but actually relational practice was what helped me. And in that process, where I am now, I touched my worth, which is not about me, it's about any human being. There is this inherent, if that's the right word, essence and quality of our being. And I started to look for what's amazing about me. I started through this relational practice, and then now in the business world, I would always go to the event before and say, oh, what can I learn? And now I go to the event like I know more than people speaking. Wow, Sanya, well done. I have goosebumps. So I shifted, I reframed what I'm looking for, and that shifted energetically. How is business moving? How am I impacting team? How clients see us? What clients say about us? Like, I don't know where to go with this one, but my attention was shifted to we are so great. We need to have more clients to help them grow with us because everything we touch, we turn into gold. And the
Yeah.
language before was like, oh, it's not good enough. We need to be better. So I just touched on this to see where this will take us.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful because now you're living in the enoughness. You already know you're worthy, you know that you are enough, and therefore, whatever you're doing is wonderful, it's amazing, and it's incredible because you're in that space, that energy, and that belief now. Um, and I love how that reflects, yeah, onto your business as well, your client interactions and everything. You mentioned the relational practices that helped you gain more awareness. Can you share what some of those looked like and what maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so the practice used to be called circling. Now it's renamed transformational connection. And I don't know about you, but I mean, all my life I was sensing I'm drawn somewhere. And as I joined this practice, I joined 6 months program, even without trying a day of practice. I just felt, oh, this is so different. So initially when I started, It was an online program, and every week, about I think 2, 3 hours, we were sitting and relating, meaning we would sharing an impact. Like I would say something, and then people would say how they feel about how would I say something, and that started to open because it was not intellectual, it was very embodied, like, oh, I'm uncomfortable as you say that, Sanya, or I don't like when you speak for me, Sanya. And I was like, really shaken. And then over time, I realized week after week, something shifted in my presence. Like, through the conversation, when I'm excited, I speak very fast. But as I started over 6 months, I would pause, sit, relax, and just listen and started to be open to what's happening in the space. And just to touch base, I was so thirsty of more. As soon as that 6 months program finished, there was another one called Circling Coaching. I mean, this speaks about me moving from one thing to another, which was, again, another online program. We were coaching one another through how we are impacted by being together, not by, usual ways of coaching. And that led me then to these surrender leadership weeks where we would spend a week together, living and being together, relating together with some learnings, but mainly sharing and seeing how we are. And this is where all the patterns started to show: my smallness, my avoidance, taking responsibility, seeking approval from women. Like these are such deep patterns that it will take me much longer to see them than through this relational practice. So maybe I pause here.
Yeah, I mean, keep going. If there's more to speak, you can keep going because it's so interesting to hear this. And I love having these conversations because even I hear about new things that I've never heard about before. And it makes so much sense that when you are just having that kind of conversation and you're able to then just pause and reflect and be like, okay, how would I react? Or how do I actually feel about this thing that I have said? It's so powerful. And I find personally as well, self-awareness has been one of the greatest gifts I could have given to myself in day-to-day life.
Yes, and what comes up now, in daily life, we are busy with life. And when those things happen, we almost don't make space to explore. And then when you are in the practice for a week, and especially when you meet the same person week and then in the 4 months again and again, you start seeing certain behavior and you have time to explore it, to sit with it. And I have to say, the way this was opening up for me, as soon as I became aware of the pattern, it would lose its charge. Like it was a spell I was running, and then suddenly I'm like, why am I even seeking approval from this particular woman? I know she's very different, and maybe I have desire to possess some of her qualities, but like, why I'm seeking approval? You
Yeah.
know? I would not be able to see things like that in day-to-day life because of busyness and achievement and now other things are coming up. Um, Being in this leadership role, I shifted from micromanager and controller to creator and leader, and I've done a number of leadership profiles and like all these assessments I've done in conspiracy. I've done quite a number of different assessments, and then I started to learn about being enthusiast, being achiever, being connector. Like basically, as I was in my inner not enoughness and played that game how to be better, once when I stepped out to bigger world like relational world, conspiracy, and other spaces, I started to have reflections from other people like, oh, Sanya, I always appreciated you. Oh, Sanya, your enthusiasm is infectious. I never had a compliment I feel when I was growing up. And suddenly people saw some nice, I have goosebumps. People saw some nice things in me. And I'm like, oh, so that was my journey of opening and being very open and extrovert. I was able to receive and hear, especially through relational practice. Like I can observe body language, I can observe eyes, like sit in peace and just look at you for some time and feel my heart, which I'm not through our conversation as I'm speeding up like a like a rocket, but so much to share.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think that's why the power of self-awareness is so huge because when you become aware of something, it loses its power,
Mm.
right? Like you said with those patterns, you notice it, you become aware of it, and all of a sudden it's like, ah, it diffuses. It doesn't have that big a stronghold over you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, there was something else as well that you had mentioned, which was called Theory U.
Mm,
Can you explain what that is in simple terms
yes.
and how it became part of your personal growth journey?
I came across it somehow. I don't remember how. It's a framework that's, I'll be very brief. It's a framework that's used to deal with complexities. And it's called Theory U because the whole process is like shape of the U. And what was interesting, I came through it to as a business practice, but actually how it helped me in parallel with all the work I was doing. I mentioned I had this avoidant pattern before that was relational. Like, let's say if my team member is not happy about something for a month, I would not dare to have a conversation. I would have sleepless nights and I would not dare to speak to team member because they can get upset and leave business and God knows what. So how is this related? Like Theory U speaks about co-creation, co-evolving, sharing, like bringing different people in the room to talk about, like it can apply to anything, to personal life, my father's health at the moment, or the business. So with a complex software we develop, often there is many different parties, client, our team, third party, and there is a difficulty we don't see how to solve. So we bring everyone together. There is this side of the you, like we explore, we share, we are curious, we touch a place of like lostness, like, oh, we don't know where to go next. And you almost, when you say, I don't know what to do, something opens up, heart almost comes in to lead the way. And ideas start coming in, building up ideas, and then we co-create and co-evolve solution. So I started to now, where I am now in life, as soon as I notice a hint of difficulty, I go straight in there, I bring everyone, and then we make magic. We literally, even this morning with a client call, you just go there and suddenly people share and something opens up. So this is such a key and something I really want to bring to a bigger world personally and professionally is shifting everything we touch and we do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What did it take for you to go to a place where you were avoidant to now actually being like, yes, I'm gonna lean into the discomfort. I'm gonna lean into the curiosity.
I think it's always combination of different things. In one of these weeks, and I've done seven, like I'm the only person who did every single surrender leadership week. Like that's me. In one of them, I started to see I have avoidant pattern. Like I was avoiding to engage with people, thinking they avoid me. That was very interesting. And then I started to see it in relationship with my father, in relationship in the business, with clients and the team. And you know, we speak about when you have awareness, something shifts. So I think that was part of the story, how I started to focus on, oh, I'm avoiding. Oh, what's going on? Why? Let's look what's there. And then having a framework and a tool how to go. So this developed over time, maybe a year. It was not like I've done this and then I've done that. So it was a process of discovery, parallel process of discovery. And just to say, as we started to use Theory U, I would not even know we are doing it, but through some innovation course and the books I read, it became a natural part of being that I would just then do. And then, oh, like, oh, that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So now is it almost that it's comfortable to lean into the discomfort?
It's not just comfortable, it's like, I don't know what's the word. You know that that's where the gold is, where the juice is. You know, like if we don't go there, we'll just do in the circles, we'll waste time, we'll waste energy. It's energizing to go there. It's energizing because I heard a long time ago someone said holding a space for higher intelligence to emerge. And this is what I feel we are doing in that space. Something comes up that was under the surface, and we managed to open and help it emerge.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Holding the space for higher energy to emerge. Yeah.
Higher intelligence,
Higher
energy.
intelligence.
Yeah, but there is some sort of wisdom that we need to make a crack for it to come
Mm.
through, which is energetic work, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, true. And it's about creating that space and allowing that space for it to actually emerge. And this is sometimes it always seems counterintuitive to go into the discomfort or go into the difficulty, go into the pain. It's yes, it's easier to avoid it, but like you said, it's not as good though. Once you start leaning into it, there's so much freedom, there's so much growth, there's so much more amazingness that waits for us on the other side.
Yes, and I think what is very important to mention, part of that journey is co-experimentation. Like when there is some big problem in front of us, we don't know where to go, but this practice is helping you make a step. Like conversation is a little step. And as you start making these little steps and start seeing good outcomes, you sort of reinforce this in a way of being and almost becomes natural. There is a problem, let's go on a call. And I had to do lots of work to speak, to call clients and everyone when it's hard, when there is a communication that I'm seeing is, it didn't come overnight. And I think where I'm now, it comes up to share. As I look back and see all my life, there is so much trust that I am on a journey to somewhere that's so much bigger than me now. And I'm 55 and there are decades in front of me. I don't know where I'm going, but I connected with my ancestors in January through a family difficulty. And there is leadership in my family. There were people leading army in the First World War in winter. And as I touch that and that energetically opens up, I'm like, wow, I have leadership in me. I want to go in and share about this in the business world and change business world. Like I feel like I'm on a path to lead in peace, how my great grandfather was leading in a war from the heart.
Yeah. And I can feel that energy coming through as you're speaking and as you're talking. I can feel that energy and that passion really come through. And I'm so grateful because I think you are setting the stage for business leadership to change, to
Oh,
completely change the way it's happening. Um, and we're going to be in a much better space that if we can have more leaders who are heart-led, we're going to be in a much better space.
and it's a process we are with, and I like to call this feminine leadership because
Mhm.
it's holding the space. I mean, I have a very strong masculine side coming from my country, Serbia, and the family I had to perform. And now I open my heart and my feminine side. And now I'm holding both, which I'm little learning is not very common. And I think we either need to work in partnership with someone or build these capacities in ourselves. But yes, we are in the process of feminine leadership coming in and being different in business and like touching hearts on this journey because this is not about achieving, it's about shifting and bringing something new to give birth
Yeah,
in the
for
business.
sure.
Yeah.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but I just hear there's so much diversity in all the different work that you've done for yourself because you've talked about the masculine, feminine, you've talked about touching with your ancestors, you've talked about relational practices. Like it just seems so beautiful, broad and wide. And I love that because, it really is about exploring the different modalities that are going to support you and help you and finding different ways to connect to different parts of you that are showing up in your life. So I love that. I wanted to point that out because I'm like, wow, you've talked about all these different things.
Yes, and what help is as I've done this personality test, Clifton Strengths, and strength number one was connectedness. I started to see how am I building connections between totally different practices. Like even recently, I was reading a Gestalt coaching book, and I was like, oh, this is related to theory U. Wow! Like, oh, where is this coming from? So I think it might be because I was always like, my mind is so curious. I'm so thirsty for knowledge. I get easily bored. And having all this different information, something in me started to make connections between all of this, which are very unusual connections, you know? So, but again, I think that's unique about me. And for some time I was looking up to other people wanting to copy, but I'm like, this is unique for me. I want to invite everyone to find their own uniqueness that might be totally different. than
Mm.
than my own. I think we need to name that. But this is just a flavor of what's possible when you start looking inside instead of just outside. Like, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And for someone who feels like maybe they're also stuck in low self-worth or not enoughness, but may not necessarily be aware that that's happening, just like similarly for you, you weren't really aware that you were stuck in that space. What would you want them to know from your journey?
What comes up to share? I read a really good leadership book. I forgot the name, but it speaks about outside. Like when we are in insight and just look inside, that's all we know. But the book defined act as a leader, think as a leader. The book spoke about acting first, having information, and then taking a step. Because message here is like we need to open up and step out and find a channel that feels familiar and safe to open up to safe world around us to a bit shift what we see consciously or unconsciously for ourselves. And as I was saying with conspiracy, when I joined there and people started to share compliments, I was like, oh, what's happening? So I think as long as I stayed in my world, I was playing my pattern and opening up and acting, stepping, seeking, talking. I found that was this like a theory you place of lostness and then taking a step is the key for allowing something new to come in our system to shift these inner beliefs. So that's my invite. Be courageous, it pays off. And
Mm.
if you take a step and that doesn't work, there is another step. That's the point of taking little steps. I learned not to push because I have lots of energy. I would push certain direction. And I'm now like, oh, why I'm doing this, Sanya? Shift somewhere else. So again, it's a learning on the journey. Thank you for
Totally.
the question.
Yeah, no, you're most welcome. And as we wrap up, just before I wrap up and ask you our closing question, do you feel called to share anything that you want to share?
I think, oh, I have goosebumps. What was this journey for me is to discover who I am. And I think that was the key to start really looking what are my gifts, what are my qualities, what's so unique about me. And that shows as well in the leadership profile where I'm shifting from achiever to individualist because I'm now looking for me and others, clients, team, friends. What's unique about each of us that we came to this world to express and live and bring? So yeah, like what are your gifts and uniqueness that you're living and are needed for this world to move forward differently, to bring more love and care and peace for myself in the first place, so I can do it as well with and for others.
Oh, I love that. That was beautiful. And you know, something I just recognized is that you were really actually tapping into the feminine to share this because you paused, you were looking up, and you were just looking for that guidance of what do I need to share openly. I absolutely love that. That gives me chills as well. So Sanya, thank you so much for sharing so openly, so beautifully with so much variety in what you're talking about, and I'm sure everyone and anyone listening has taken some value from here. And as we close, I want to ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, if healing had a voice, what would it say to you right now?
I'm still touched from my previous share, and I have tears in my eyes as we are closing, like touching this beautiful place. Healing would say for me, love yourself. Love yourself for who you are. Love the difficulties, the challenges. They're all there to support you on the journey. But this self-love is the key. It was the key for me.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, helped you, or made you feel seen, please be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And come join our free Facebook community, Eat Better, Think Better. It's where these conversations continue and where you'll find real people walking the same path. If you're ready to go deeper in your own journey, whether it's healing your relationship with food, shifting your mindset, or breaking free from beliefs that are holding you back, you will find more support, resources, and ways to work with me at www.eatbetterthinkbetter.com. And until next time, here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go.